Welcome back to the 52 Weeks to Wealth. My name is Walter Merrill, the real estate mentor, and we've been diving through these last 36 weeks on our way to this wealth principle. This wealth principle is be impeccable with your word. Wealth principle 36 is all about being super clear, and it saves you time and it makes you money. Who here has ever said something and instantly regretted it the moment it came out of your mouth? That's the camera. If you've ever made a mistake, like almost instantly caught it. You're like, no, I actually don't want to hang out with you this Friday. That's the day that I was going to go do something that makes me money. Anybody ever miss money because they said something wrong? How about this? In a negotiation situation with we'll call it a real estate investor, has anyone, maybe I'm the only one who's done this, said, sure, I'll fix that, and then realize you don't actually want to fix that? Anybody ever sell a property and like over fix stuff? If you haven't, let me tell you how this goes. So you own a piece of property, you're out there showing something you own, and the buyer's like, well, I could use this fixed. I want that fixed. I want that fixed. And in it, you're just like, yeah, those are no big deals. But if the real estate agent had received that information, they would have said, let me talk to the seller. And then as the seller, you would have had some time to think about it. And you would be like, yeah, no way, I'm not doing it, and push back hard. Hence, if you know, it's easier when you're separated, that third party kind of negotiations. So this is why I don't list my own properties anymore. It also gives you the strength to be more impeccable with your word. We have a little bit of time delay between making decisions. We can be a little bit more clear on what we actually want to accomplish. So being impeccable with your words, something we're going to talk about very deeply today. This wealth principle came from a book that I think everybody on the call has read called The Four Agreements. Hands to the camera if you've read The Four Agreements. Excellent, excellent. If you haven't read it, okay, you're a little behind. Don't worry. You've been behind your entire life. This is just the first time you're aware of it. So this book's been around for a very long time. A lot of great entrepreneurs list it as one of their top favorite books because it gets you clear on how to operate within the world, the realm that we live in every single day, which is communication with self and then communication with others. So being impeccable with your word was not just something that you do with other people. This wealth principle ties into self-control, self-affirmations, being real, saying the things that you actually want about yourself. Who here wants to make more money this year? Hands to camera if you want to make more money, more of this cash, and would like to do it with less time, wants to get more of your time back. Excellent. What about getting some energy? Who'd like to have more energy, more excitement in their life? This wealth principle also boosts your energy because when you're impeccable with your word, you're only doing things you want to do. You're only hanging with people you want to hang with. You're only working on projects or being involved or investing in things that make you feel good. How you feel, right, is related to your thoughts. It's related to your actions. So wealth principle 36 is to be impeccable with your word. I was going out, I was working at this place called Walmart. Maybe you've heard of it. Anybody heard of Walmart? You know what that looks like? Yeah. So I kept leveling up from my job as a guy who just worked in the garden department. Then I went over, I just worked in toys. Then I went back to garden, and then I became a department manager. And I started leveling myself up. And then one day I decided I wanted more. I want to be a store manager. Hands to the camera if you've ever been in a really low paying job and you thought like I should just keep doing this for some reason. Anybody ever been there? Am I the only one who I thought Walmart was my life because I just happened to be there? I ended up telling my manager, I said, I want to learn everything. I want all of the information. I want all of the responsibility. You just give me all the responsibility. And they did. They gave me literally all the responsibility to run the entire department that I was running and a side department. And as I was going through it, I realized I don't like this at all. I don't like doing all of this work. This is a lot of work. And I'm not getting the pay raise that I should have gotten with this. I was told if I work harder, I'd get paid more. Hence, can't you recognize hard work alone is not enough? You must negotiate what the value of your work is. And your work must be valuable enough for the person you're negotiating with to actually pay. Walmart doesn't have a budget that isn't minimum wage. They don't have a place for, oh, I don't care how hard you work. This is what we pay. There's another guy right behind you who has the ability to work for you. And here's the other, to work for the same amount or for less. I was doing this hard work. I started going through some emotional experiences. I started being like, I'm worth more. I'm doing all this. Look at this. I can handle more things. And I also realized I asked for responsibility. I was not necessarily impeccable with my words. See, I wanted more money. I wanted more power in the company. I didn't want more responsibility. Hence, if you've ever noticed, you made some mistakes in your negotiations with other people. You've asked for things you didn't want. So being impeccable with your word, if I had that back then said clearly to my manager what the truth was, I would have asked them, how do I get paid more? Like, what do I have to do for you in order to get paid more or get this position? Had I been very impeccable, I would have said, I really just want to get paid more and do less. Do you have that option available? And you know what he would have said? No. And that would have saved me some time. That would have saved me years. I would have known that, okay, this company is not the place where I get what I'm looking for. Who here knows you might be in a position or a role or have been in a position or a role that may not be the one that serves what you're looking for? Has anybody ever felt like you're doing activities that don't necessarily get you to where you want to be? It all comes down to making some internal decisions, getting super clear inside of why we do what we do. Everybody on this call is looking to become a millionaire because you wouldn't have made it past to the registration link because you got to go to I Build Millionaires to even register to get here, right? Like we're on a mission to build 100 millionaires who are inspired to build 100 millionaires. It's all over every website that we own. If you didn't want to become a millionaire, well, I don't think you would have hung. Hence, Karen, if you're down with becoming a millionaire, you're okay with it. You don't mind money. You got no negative thoughts around. You don't think you're gonna be evil. All right, you know me. I've been here in this world for a little while. I've been told that making money makes you evil, right? I don't want to be greedy. Who's heard these people, these naysayers around money? They're like, yeah, you got to steal, you got to rob to get successful. The only millionaires we're going to build are the ones who do it morally, ethically, legally, and I'm going to add this: have fun doing it. You got to feel good about the money you're making. It's got to impact somebody's life. Who here is okay with impacting other people in a positive way? Good, because it's really the only way to make $1 million anyway. I'm glad you're on the right track. So there's some steps to becoming impeccable with your word. Wealth principle 36 is be impeccable with your word. Step 1 is you got to take time to listen, internalize, not just other people, but yourself. Internalize what your thoughts are, like where you're coming from. Remember the story about Walmart. If I had thought internally, what do I really want? Like if I'm honest with myself, then I could be honest with my employer. I don't actually want more work, didn't actually want more responsibility. I wanted more pay. And at that point, I would have been able to say, okay, this isn't the place. Where is the place to get more income? And I would have started the journey of Rich Dad, Poor Dad a little bit earlier in my life. Fancy Kim, if you've read the great book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the purple book. Oh yeah, cash flow quadrant. Had I started sooner, I would have realized, oh my God, I want to own real estate and I want to own businesses and I want to get cash flow because that's the whole point of the game. Hands Cam, if you've already learned all this, you recognize real estate, cash flow, businesses, that's the point. That's where we're going. So take time also to listen. We had a conversation earlier today in our pregame where Ron was saying that he's having a hard time with contractors and contractors aren't doing the things that he wants them to do. Well, ironically, being impeccable with your word, clearly communicating what you expect from them and listening to what they hear. By the way, when you say something, always get the person to say it back to you. Take some time to listen, not just to other people, but also to yourself. Be sure you understand what the person is asking of you. Make sure you understand what you're asking of yourself. Number 2, trial taking at least 5 to 10 seconds to truly pause and think about what another person has said before responding. Taking a little bit of time delay to understand like who I was, what I was doing. In fact, this came up a lot in my early relationships too. I would be asked, do you want to get married? And back then I'd be like, yeah, sure, someday. Now I'm super clear. Like, no, the answer is absolutely not. Not interested ever, never. Love you to death, though. We'll buy a ring. We'll throw a big party. Just no contracts. Hence the camera, if you know, that's hard to say sometimes, right? Like emotionally, like people don't want to hear that. You have to go through some stuff to realize like that's important to you. I don't know in the marriage thing if 5 to 10 seconds would be enough. But I know that at least in negotiations with other entrepreneurs, other clients, potential clients, by the way, it's okay to say no to a client. It's okay to say, this isn't the right fit. I've had people come to me and say, well, I really want to make $1 million in 3 months, but I don't want to do anything in real estate. Well, I'm sorry. You and I are not the right fit. Like, good luck with that. You let me know like who you find who can pull that off in 3 months. Let me know. Hence, can't recognize you got to say no to some people just because they got money, just because they could pay you doesn't mean that it's the right connection for you. And then I've had people say, I want to be a millionaire, but I don't actually want to talk to people. Like I'm an introvert and I want to stay the introvert side. Well, I'm sorry. That's not going to work. Like maybe somebody else has a strategy for you that works, but it doesn't work here, unless you've already got $500,000, in which case we can throw it on Tesla and see how that goes. Hence the camera, if you know it, if you got a ton of money, making money is not too hard. Right. It's a lot easier with a boatload of cash. You can just let somebody else go and do the work for you. Trial taking at least 5 to 10 seconds before you actually agree to something, before you say yes to something. And even before you consider a concept and saying it out loud, practice using immediate responses of your own favorite words to show people you have listened. This is where I'll say the words, does that make sense? Hence the camera, if that makes sense. Everybody knows I say this often. Like, are we getting this? Does that make sense? You feel me? That's a great way in group. That's a great way to make sure the room is listening, make sure the room is engaged and that you're on the same page. Practicing your own responses that you're going to use, the responses that you like to hear from other people, confirmation responses. They're a great tool for being impeccable with your word. And like I was saying earlier, that trialing the 5 to 10 seconds, when you take a little bit of time to really think about the request the person is giving you, like I get asked all the time, well, hey, are you interested in investing in this deal? And I used to say things like, I might be, send it over. Now I ask, is it in Fall River? And if they say no, I'm like, not interested, plain and simple. And if they say, are you interested in making different types of money? I just like, no. Not interested in making different types of money. All I make is my real estate money. All I do is teach people. So I have 2 streams of income that I love that lead into the other 7 streams of income. Just one funnel, right? I send everybody to Alchemist Nation. Alchemist Nation filters everything else out. Hands to camera, if you love to simplify your business, just say no to everything except for the one thing that you want to say yes to. The one thing, well, for me, it's build millionaires. I'll build millionaires as long as it's in line with what I'm good at. And if it's not in line with what I'm good at, referral, just send them off to somebody else. There's another coach on Alchemist Station who could support you in that way. Hence, if you're recognizing that you could use partners, but you don't have to do the work yourself. Very important to start leveraging other people. We talked about this last week, teams, being able to trust other people, using teamwork. The 4th step, choose your words slowly and carefully. I got to be careful with this principle. It's easy to ignore this, but if you've ever done something you didn't want to do, or who here has woken up saying, I can't stand the day ahead of me. I don't want to do the day ahead of me. There's a whole bunch of stuff on it that I don't want to do. It's not moving me forward. Anybody ever have that? That's because you didn't set the standards for what your day should look like. Now, if you're doing days that you don't want to do, it's because you weren't clear about what you wanted to do that day. And somehow you miscommunicated, not just to yourself, not just to the other person, but to the universe itself. Being impeccable with your word means getting super clear, hyper clarity on what you want to have manifested on your behalf. And Scan, if you know you're the captain of your ship. Oh, yeah, you are. You're in charge. Be super clear. Choose your words slowly and carefully. Do not always have to respond quickly. Even like the top producers, like I pride myself on being able to come up with answers quickly, responding quickly. All of my answers have been pre-programmed to not involve me. If you ask me to do something, I immediately have somebody else in my mind that's going to do that. And so I can give quick responses, but it took me like concentrated, concerted effort to reprogram the way I responded to every person who would reach out to me. Hence, if you recognize you may have to do some of this. Like you're seeing some of that right now in your life where a person messages you and you say, yeah, I'll take a look at it. Every time I agree to take a look at something, that's time that I'm not able to do the things that I'm supposed to do. Anytime that you're saying, yes, I might be interested in a deal that there's no chance of you actually being interested. It's outside of your market. It's not something that you actually have the bandwidth to handle. Then you're saying no to the right deal, to raising the capital for the deal you already have under agreement, or managing the deal that you already have under agreement. We've got one of our millionaires, Melanie Santos, who absolutely is slaying it in so many levels. So it's really hard for me to pick on her, but I have to anyway. She's like crushing, has an unfair advantage in Subway. She owns a couple of Subways, and I keep asking her and requesting that she goes deeper into the Subway route because she'd make like a huge chunk of money. And she wants to own Subway anyway, the whole franchise. But occasionally she'll get these shiny objects, and her partners will bring them to her. And she's like, yes, I want in. She says yes a lot, but then later on, she gets stressed by now there's a car wash she's buying, there's a rooming house she's buying, and she's doing a couple multifamily deals that she's doing right now that one of them does include like property for a Subway. So, okay. But if she just stayed in her lane on the Subways, she'd be absolutely crushing it because the Subways cash flow more and she's already got the management system in place. And it's the camera, if you recognize, she's got to start 3 separate businesses, these 3 separate management strategies, 3 separate systems. Whereas with Subways, she could just scale one thing that she's already very, very good at. And I pick on Melanie because she's a multi-millionaire. And it's like, she's, a big part of our community. Everybody knows who she is. Hands, if you know who Melanie Santos is. No, she is awesome. Give her a big hug when you see her at the summit. She's gonna freaking love that. She's amazing at what she does, and she can handle this. But if she's very honest with herself when we speak, like, she knows her net worth would be probably double if she just stayed in this one lane. And your business is the same way. You don't have the luxury of the teams that she has. You don't have the luxury of the money that she has. In order to get to that next level, that $1 million, you've got to be super hyper focused on what you choose to do. Before you communicate with any other human being, write this question down. This goes with step 4. Does this move me in the direction of my goal? Does this directly move me in the direction of my goal? Because everything could be justified as it sort of does, it kind of it's connections with human beings that kind of moves me in the direction of my goal. But more hyper focused connections with human beings does move you in the direction of your goal. Like the 100 Millionaire Summit moves me in the direction of my goal, right? I want to hang out with millionaire like leaders. I want to hang out with people who have the capacity to become millionaires, capacity to become leaders, capacity to be people who pay it forward, which is why my messaging is always saying 100 millionaires who are inspired to build 100 millionaires. It's the only way I filled the room, right? People who are willing to give back, people who are willing to pay it forward. You got to be super clear with your messaging. So that's all I'm asking from you. Does this move you in the direction that you want to be moving in? If you want to own more real estate, if you want to own some of these side hustles like Mike Shine and Melody have with these car washes and residential assisted livings or hotels, you want to own this really sweet real estate that provides big cash flow, well, then 100 Millionaire Summit's a room to connect with, right? That's where all of our millionaire friends are hanging and to connect with the operators, people who do deals and allow us not to have to do work, right? We want that passive income. We don't mind having our great operators within the community do the work. 5, practice only using words you are comfortable with. Keep it simple. The simpler this is, the easier your life will be. If you try to put too much emphasis on sounding sophisticated or being somebody who you're not, you may agree to things that you don't want to be a part of. I remember when I started investing in doing creative financing, I used to say stuff like, yeah, we're going to be partners. But I don't actually like the word partners. I didn't mean partners, right? Like when I was saying we're going to be partners on this, like we ended up being 50-50 partners with an attorney, which I love him. I loved the deal and it worked out really well for me. But partnership to me meant more than just one deal. And he and I, after that deal, we were done. Like that was over. So it's a word we use a lot in Alchemist Nation. I believe in partnership. It's worked out very, very well for me. But unless you understand the context of what you're looking to put that word through, it may not make sense to be using it right now. You may just be looking for a lender, or you may just be looking for a deal finder, or you may just be looking for a mentor. So use words you're comfortable with, words that you fully understand, and you can put right energy behind them. And 6, think of your words as a binding contract. Think of your words as an agreement with the universe. I put myself into some pickles because I think of my words as if I said it, I must do it. And I've had to go do things that I did not want to do that I could have easily talked myself out of. Could have easily said, oh, you know what? I apologize. I didn't mean it. I don't want to actually do it. But I don't, because my word is a binding agreement. It is who I am. If I said I'm going to do something, I have to do it. The more powerfully you put emphasis, what you have to go and do some things you don't like because you agreed to doing them. And then once you've done that, you'll put a little more emphasis on thinking about things before you say yes to them. Sometimes you got to go and just like, okay, I said I would do it. Instead of giving myself the cheap little back out of it, I go and I do the thing that I wish I hadn't said I was going to do. And then afterwards, my mind immediately, anytime something like that comes up, I'm just like, no, I don't do that. No, sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it for you. Sorry, here's the person who might be able to. Let me connect you with somebody. I've been asked a bunch of times, hey, can you help me get my avatar dialed in? No, Steven Beaver does that, right? Hey, can you help me out with, I'm going through some things. I don't know why I'm saying no to myself. I keep taking my own bad advice. How do you solve that? Like, oh, Dr. Terry Wager, sir, or ma'am. Like you go talk to Terry because that's not my space. It's not my specialty, right? Or, I'm wondering, is this person the right person for me to get into a partnership with, right? Mike's book is coming out for partnerships. I sent it to Mike, like, hey, Mike, here's somebody that you should connect with. Or, hey, would you invest in my deal? Is your deal in Fall River? If it's not, the answer is no. Right? It's very simple, but go post on Alchemist Nation, and maybe somebody out there on Alchemist Nation would be interested in investing in that deal. Your inquiries are going to allow you to get clarity, a little speed in your life, because you need a lot of people asking you for stuff, by the way. In order to be successful, you need a lot of people asking for stuff. The goal is to get them to narrow down to ask you only for what you provide best. For me, I provide training. I provide education on how to expand your networks, right? Building communities, building millionaires. This is my one thing, right? Hence, Camp, I don't focus on anything else, right? It's build millionaires. That's it. If it doesn't build millionaires, I'm not interested. If it builds millionaires and it takes my time, I'm gonna have to really think about that. This week, by the way, is super high leverage for your business. Please implement being more impeccable with your word. Please be super clear, hyper clear on what you want your contractors to do. When you're communicating with a lender, can you deliver on what you say you're going to deliver? When you're communicating with an investor, can you deliver? When you're communicating with one of your clients, what is it the client must do for you to feel comfortable with them? What is it an investor must do for you to feel like, okay, I can take this person's money? What is it you have to say to an investor or a seller to get them to decide to transact with you? Super hyper clear on what you want to do in your life, right? When I wake up every day, like I said, if I'm not building millionaires, I'm not happy. If it doesn't move us in the direction, if it doesn't move the needle towards building millionaires, then something went wrong. Partnering with us on something gets me super excited. Like that makes my soul sing, because now I'm helping a whole bunch of people become millionaires.